Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. The spotter said it was clear. It wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, y'all, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brian here again with Rob and Ashley, and we're here to talk Homestead. That's it, and a bunch of other shit. So, folks, how we doing this week?
I'm feeling pretty good, Brian. The sun's starting to be out a little bit more. Where the perpetual gray and cold of New England is starting to break, and racing season up here is probably going to get rained out this weekend down at Thompson, that just means spring has sprung. So I'm very excited about that. How you doing, True Love?
I'm good. I just got back from family dinner, so I'm coming down off a lemon pound cake pie.
That does sound delicious.
How are you, Brian? I know you cheated on us with another podcast.
Oh, that's right.
I already forgot about what I talked about, and it's not out yet, so we'll talk about that when it's out. But I'm
little
good.
Slut for podcasts, aren't you?
Well, something like that. My dog has figured out how to lick his incision wound with his cone on, so that's great. It's never gonna fucking
get a
heal.
bigger cone.
I've got the biggest one I can get.
Well, I don't know about that. Could always be bigger.
Whatever. But yeah, weather sucks here, and I'm getting all my shit together for Darlington. But
nice.
That's next week. Now we got racing to talk about, though. And Homestead happened, and for the most part, it delivered, I would say.
Yeah.
Starting out Friday on the Truck Series, I feel like this is a little bit of a controversial take, but I think the Truck Series put on the best race of the weekend.
It's been happening lately. I don't understand
that. And again, not a wreck fest. It was a lot of fun passing and stuff on the track. I'll admit I missed the very beginning of the race, and I really started to pay attention like halfway through. It really seemed like, didn't seem like it was going to be Larson's night. I mean, really, it honestly shouldn't have been Larson's night. Corey Heim definitely had the fastest truck, but the last 20 or so laps, Larson was back up there up front, battling with Lane Riggs and I forget who else, but again, Corey Heim should have been gone, but his engine kept shutting off, and with 20 to go, I think he said every 3 laps it kept shutting off.
It's not ideal.
Which that did give the win to Kyle Larson. Everybody kind of expected him to win this and win all 3, and we'll get to that as we move along. But he really did not have the win this night. But Corey Heim just had truck trouble. So
that kid is fast as fuck, and that team is fast as fuck. So I guess it's not a surprise, but definitely very impressive. And it's kind of one of those things where the argument for having guys from the Cup Series and above come down and race Xfinity and trucks is, these guys get experience and get to sort of measure themselves up against the best guys in the sport. So if you can beat Kyle Larson or Kyle Busch on just pure merit and speed, that says something. And I mean, Corey Heim is fast. We all know that, but it was definitely impressive to watch him kind of walk the field a little bit. And it was definitely a bummer to at least not see more of a battle there at the end. The other thing I do want to talk about is, it's incredible how the Truck Series has just cleaned its act up.
Yeah, a bit.
We haven't seen anything too out of pocket this year.
I think a lot of the sketch balls have kind of moved up to other series, so I think that helps quite a bit.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, the racing's been good this year, and Larson won one he shouldn't have, which will continue the sweep conquest that didn't happen as we go along. But any notes from you, True Love? Did you even watch, or did you have stuff going on? I can't remember.
Oh yeah, I watched it. I suffered through it. Larson, I thought it was done when he stepped on his own dick trying to pull his signature move on Lane Riggs and spun himself out. But I thought the broadcast was great.
I totally forgot him spinning with 40-something to go. But he figured out how to pass, like, later on. Like, he pretty much would, like, cut down as low as possible, entering the corner, and then he would slide up in front of... Because he couldn't get around anybody in his line. But once he figured out how to pass that way, he was back up front. But, yeah, still no match for Corey Heim until the end. But... moving on to Saturday, this was pretty much the Kyle Larson show all day. I can't remember how many laps he led, but he seemed to lead most of it.
Over 100, yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of anything. What's that?
129 laps.
There you go.
I can't think of anything too egregious that happened during this race. Do you guys remember anything? Like aside from the end?
No, not really. I was getting ice cream with my wife for most of that, so I only caught the end of it.
I mean, it was a fun little battle, too, between the Dash for Cash drivers. I feel like at one point Larson was leading, and then those four were 2 through 5. So, I mean, Allgaier and Mayer and Jesse Love and, who was it? Austin Hill, I think.
Yeah, he was up there. Well... kind of a reverse of the night before. This was Kyle Larson's race to lose, and he did, unfortunately, thanks to Sam Mayer.
He won one he shouldn't have, and then he lost one he shouldn't have. So.
Yeah. Taylor Gray got a flat and brought out the caution with a few laps to go, which my old buddy Jason from Texas says that was a Toyota conspiracy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Apparently. Yeah. Sam Mayer.
Nothing like Chevrolet giving Toyota money for one of their trucks to spin.
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
Yeah. Sam Mayer just was up Larson's ass in the restart, and, that was it.
I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I at first I was pretty pissed at Mayer. I was like, what the fuck, But, I mean, Larson did lay back pretty far. Honestly, I feel like that restart was a little sketchy to begin with because it kind of looked like whoever was on the outside was Allgaier, right?
It was Austin Hill.
Austin Hill. It kind of looked like he was ahead of Larson for the entire box, which didn't seem... I'm a little surprised they didn't wave that one off, but, that's what happens. Sometimes restarts don't go the way you plan, and, Larson probably should have picked it up a little quicker. I know what he was trying to do, but, it kind of is what it is. Again, I've said this previously on the show, but I just don't understand why the green flag coming out just can't be what starts the race. Like...
It used to be that way.
It works in a lot of different series, so I don't really understand. Like, if the green comes out and you fucking miss it, then too bad, I'm sorry. The other note from this broadcast, so this was the debut of the new CW remote studio. I don't know how often they're going to do this, if it's going to be permanent or what, but... I think it was 5 races or something this year that they're going to be.
I think they explained that it's mostly going to be like road courses because there's no point at them being at road courses because you can't see shit anyway.
Well, why the fuck did they debut it at Homestead then? There were multiple times during the broadcast when like shit was happening, and I could tell the announcers they couldn't tell what was going on because they weren't at the track actually just looking at what was out the window.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I didn't really I didn't catch most of the race, so what I did see, I didn't notice, to be honest with you. So I can't tell you if it was different or not, but I don't know. On DBC this week, they had Jamie McMurray as a guest, and he was kind of talking about how, at least him anyway, and other broadcasters, you're really looking at the screens anyway most of the time. Mm-hmm. Not everyone's like Dale Jr. or Mike Joy or whoever kind of staring out the window looking at stuff.
That's why they're still the best announcers.
That's true.
Not to say the CW team is bad. I love their announce team, but still.
I thought it was funny too that Jamie Mack had to be in Charlotte for the CW fake booth, but he still had to go to Miami to do the Fox free race.
Yeah, how does that work
Sunday?
Out? Yeah,
it's like, well, that sucks for you.
Maybe he's got blackout dates on his points on his fucking American Airlines credit card or whatever, and he can only go at certain times. But
something like that.
Yeah, that didn't make any fucking sense to me. I didn't even think about that until you brought it up. Yeah.
So, my only other notes from that race were in the pre-race, they kept showing this picture of Justin Bonsignore's newborn baby.
Yes.
Laying down surrounded by McDonald's food.
Yes.
Which
is
made
fair.
Justin emotional at one point, which I thought was...
he had a rough day. I think he spun a couple times, but still ended up with the top 15.
Yeah, not the greatest.
Like
I mean, it kind of reminded me of his first race at Loudon. Just, definitely a fast car. Definitely probably would have been, at least lower top 10. But shit just kept happening. Again, like I said, I didn't watch much of that race, so I couldn't tell you what really happened. But I would check the app to see what the timing and scoring was, just to check on Justin. And he was like, "Oh shit, he's in 8th place again. That's awesome." And then I would check again in like 10 minutes, and he'd be, in 89th place. It's like, oh, that's not good. And then this repeated for the entire race until I got home, and he was nowhere to be found. So.
I also saw on Twitter that there was a giant swarm of bees in the grandstands that was attacking fans, and they had to run for their lives. Which
Something
also
else to be
happened
terrified
last fall at Homestead on the spotter stand.
Jesus.
Gotta get the bees under control.
Got a bee problem.
Yeah. But shout out to Justin Allgaier taking home $100,000 for the Dash for Cash and getting his second win in a row. I think I like that. So.
Yep. I definitely like that.
Yeah.
I've become a Justin Allgaier fan, so I really enjoy seeing him pick one up once in a while.
He's hard to root against, I'll give you that.
And I think that, he's definitely lost a bunch of races in similar circumstances to the way Larson lost this one. So at least the racing gods are fair in some way, and they gave it to the right guy instead of fucking Sam Mayer or Austin Hill or any one of these other chuds I don't like very much.
I mean, not to praise Austin Hill, but he was having a fine day. If he would have won, it would.
Oh, he's good. I just don't like him.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
I just don't like the guy. That's all.
Yeah.
He's definitely talented as fuck.
Moving on to Sunday. So this race, it was definitely a race for old school fans in the sense that, there wasn't a whole lot of, there were no wrecks. I mean, Bell spun out, but that was pretty much it. But guys were all over the track. They had to manage their tires. Everybody's running different lines. People were able to pass. But there were a lot of long, stretched out green flag runs. And I think a lot of newer fans probably didn't know what the hell they were watching half the time. But it was definitely a good race. It seemed like it was going to be Blaney's race to lose, but he had his second engine failure of the year.
He blowed up.
Yeah, which I think they said that was before this year he hadn't blown up a motor in 7 years. So I don't know what the hell's going on over there. Penske in general was kind of all over the place. They didn't really have Logano. He was up and down. Cindric was in the top 10, I think. I think they both ended up with top 10s, but
they had trouble on pit road too with both Josh Berry and Joey Logano getting backwards.
Yeah, they were on some different tire strategy. There was definitely, I think, during the second stage, I kept Barry in my fantasy lineup because he was fast, but he was also on different pit strategy. So he ended up with the top 20, but yeah, didn't get it done like he did last week. Bubba Wallace did really well. I mean, I think most of us were pulling for him at the end.
That paint scheme was amazing.
Yeah, paint scheme looked good. He was running fast. For a second, it looked like maybe Alex Bowman was going to get it because Larson towards the end it almost seemed like he was too far back. But I think once he got up to third, he was able to just kind of get around everybody. It didn't also hurt that Bowman got into the wall.
Yeah,
I think
Bowman tore the right side off his car. We would have seen a pretty decent fight, I think, if it wasn't for that, because it takes a few laps to set up a pass there and slide him.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I was really looking forward to that. Again, obviously I'm a Kyle Larson fan, and that's who I wanted to see win it. But I mean, people give Alex Bowman a lot of shit, man, and he definitely choked this one, which he's known to do. But he's also fourth in points.
Yeah, I think he's had 5 top 10s already this year.
People act like he's Corey LaJoie, but dude is probably the most consistent out of the entire Hendrick camp. And
at this point,
I mean, all 4 of their cars are in the top 6 in points.
Yeah.
So
Bowman's third in points right now.
He's third, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3 in the board because Byron and Larson are leading it. So yeah, that's crazy shit right there.
Well, Chase had a pit penalty or something. I forget, Ashley.
He was pissed off.
Yeah, he was coming into the pits, and you're supposed to come in single file, but he had come in double file because they started stacking up in front of him, so he, like, averted disaster and didn't want to run into the person in front of him and cause a wreck. And then he gave the position back after they got their shit straightened out, but they still penalized him for coming in double file. And he was like, what do you want me to do, cause a wreck? And NASCAR's basically like, yeah, you have to come in single file, so if a wreck happens, a wreck happens.
That
so.
kind of reminds me of, remember when Casey Kane, this is a little different, but it was at Pocono, I believe, and there was a wreck happening, and he dove down pit road to avoid T-boning somebody, and he got a too fast entering penalty like it was a fucking PS2 game or something.
So,
But yeah,
The rules don't always make sense.
no.
But other than that, AJ Allmendinger got another top 10. I think he's finished in the top 10 at like all next gen races there.
Yeah, he's
Ryan
low-key
Preece got-
really good there. Yeah, and Ryan Preece in 9th place. That's great news. He's now in 16th in the points. I say we just stop counting the playoffs now and just dive right into that shit. Let's go.
Well, I mean, shit,
Wrap it
man.
up.
I think he's going to get a win this year, so I don't think you'll have to worry about that. I don't know what the hell's going on with Brad, but Preece and Buscher's been running good. They've had speed at all the races so far, and yeah, I think finally other people are seeing what we see in Preece now that he's in a car that
He's
actually has it shit together.
Well, he's doing that thing he always does where he plays it cool through the entire race, and it's kind of like what Harvick used to do. He just shows up at the end where he needs to be. He's not flashy all day. He's kind of hanging out, and they haven't qualified all that well. That's been pretty much the big black mark on their season so far, is their qualifying has been kind of dog shit. So you usually find him in the low 20s, high 30s, which, that's not where you want to be at all. But at the end of the races, he's always on the top half of the field, and it's through strategy and just being a smart race car driver. So glad to see that.
I had
shit.
my eye on him all day, and he was just ever so slowly moving up. Every time you'd look, you'd think, oh, he's up another position or two. So
Also, Justin Haley getting a top 10, finally breaking the Corey LaJoie curse in the 7 car.
Mm-hmm.
I think you talk about Preece maybe getting a win, and some of these other guys kind of sniffing at it. I really do think if that's going to happen, it needs to happen quickly. Because as the season progresses and these bigger teams kind of click off wins and lock themselves in, they're going to start pooling resources. And, guys start streaks, and, people get hot and cold. And the beginning of the season's always a little wild, or it can be. So if this is the time you're going to try and pull something out that nobody else has, you better do it before anyone else has figured it out. And this is the time to do it. So.
Well, he's got another track he's experienced with coming up this weekend, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, as long as he qualifies well, he might actually do all right, since you can't pass at Martinsville. So otherwise, it's going to be riding around in fucking Ty Gibbs' wake for 500 miles.
I think they said they were bringing the same tires that they brought last fall, so.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys caught this. Bob Pockrass tweeted out today that NASCAR is not bringing the option tire back. For or not necessarily the option tire. They might bring that specific tire out, but there will not be 2 options for the rest of the year. That was a one and done deal, which I think is a bummer. I really enjoyed that. Hopefully it just means they're going to start utilizing that softer tire.
Yeah, that's what I hope.
That's what everybody wants.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
And I guess
my only note.
Go ahead.
My only note from the race happened before the race even started. I was watching the pre-race, and Mike Myers, and not Mike Myers, God damn,
Chris Myers.
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers was there. Boyer Harvick, Jamie were standing there. They're interviewing Noah Gragson, and he talked on broadcast television, talking about how thinking about coming to Homestead gets him bricked up. And then he said it again for his team radio while they were getting ready to go to the green. He's like, I'm bricked up right now, boys, ready to go. It's like, gross.
Oh, I love that.
So that's my Sunday note. Then Larson won, and I wish the wildfires had burned the track down. So.
Well, speaking of the track, though, one last little thing. As always, when we go to Homestead, the chatter about bringing the finale back, it definitely sounds like it's got more steam behind it. I think at this point it's just about the city giving them money.
Yep.
But it seems like it's going to be that way. And Denny on his podcast, I don't know if there's anything to this, but he kind of hinted at a 3-race playoff for the finale next year.
Really?
So, yeah. He said I forget his exact quote, but it was like, hopefully it's at least one of the final like season finale or the final round. He made it sound like a 3-race playoff. So
yeah, not to be a podcast that just talks about other podcasts, but again on DBC they actually went into this in pretty great depth about how even NASCAR flew some drivers down a couple days early to announce that Homestead was going to be the finale race in 2026, but something happened with the funding, as you said.
Yeah, I want to say
fell apart.
I want to say too. I don't know if it was on the Homestead site or somewhere else, but there was.
It was the ticket website. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a listing for like next year's season finale. So. Yeah. We'll see what happens, but I have a feeling we'll probably get some good news at some point. Yeah. But on to the notes.
Well, real quick, the other piece of this that came out was that Vegas is likely going to be the finale for 2027. So it sounds like NASCAR is going to do a rotation, and I think the big piece out of this is that Las Vegas is not owned by NASCAR. It's an SMI track, so they are willing to work outside of I guess that would indicate to me that they're probably going to have more than one race to settle the championship so they can still keep some of that sweet sanctioning money. But yeah, it sounds like Vegas might be in the mix too, and I think everybody here would like to see that as well because Vegas always puts on a good show too.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, somebody else has to handle this Tim Duggar note.
So speaking of other podcasts from the Dirty Mo lineup, you want to handle this one, True Love?
Well, I don't know if y'all have watched this podcast at all. It's Amy and Dale's new podcast.
I've just seen the clips of it, but yeah.
I've been watching it. It's interesting. It's very interesting watching their dynamic together. But I think they had like fan questions like how long is it acceptable to sit at a swim up bar in a pool, and Amy and Dale were like, oh, we got a story about a friend, but they didn't want to say his name. Amy's like, I'm not going to say his name. I don't want to call him out on it. And she starts telling him about this friend who they were at this, swim up pool bar, and he sat there all day long. He had like 2 meals there. He never left once. People were starting to like take notice. And she accidentally slipped up and said his name was Tim. And there's only one person named Tim that Damie and Dale vacation with. And Dale and Amy vacation with, and it's Tim Duggar.
I'll admit, I have never been in a swim-up bar, and that is like my primary reason for never wanting to go in one.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, they got
pissing in the pool is bad enough. Like anywhere you're doing it, like, you shouldn't do that. It's gross. But like where everybody's drinking, everybody's pissing in the pool, and I don't want any part of that.
Yeah, especially all day, just stewing in it, like
marinating in it and eating meals in it.
Yeah, good lord.
Fucking animal.
So.
Plus, like, how long do you want to be sitting in fucking water for? I mean, I don't like. When I go swimming, it's like half hour or something. Like that's enough. I don't need to be sitting in water for 4 hours. I'll camp
for an hour or two if I'm relaxed and drinking and having a good time. But yeah, once I start to prune up, it's time to go take a walk, take care of business. Eat my buffalo wings somewhere else other than the chlorine pit.
Oh God! He'd probably eat buffalo wings and then just puts his hands
wipes
in the
his hands off.
Yeah,
the jet.
Yeah, they're clean. Fuck. Oh, it's so gross.
Oh, it gets worse.
That's nasty work, friends.
Tim Duggar is a pool pisser, everyone.
It's confirmed.
I don't know anything about this ARCA test note.
Did you not see this?
No, I didn't see this.
All right, so our favorite ARCA team, Rise Motorsports, of course, the brainchild of...
that. Yes, I did see this. Okay,
Tim Viennes. The guy who quit NASCAR like 10 years ago because it got too woke and just never left. So that's always funny to bring up. They posted something on Twitter about a testing program that they run. And the post itself reads, Nathan Goodrick and his dad traveled from Michigan to test with us on Tuesday. Nathan's got a dirt background, and this is his first time on a paved oval. Send us a DM if you'd like to test with us at a later date. And the video here, this kid's just driving around with the window net just down at Hickory. And people were trying to say he didn't have a Hans device on. That's not true. He does have the Simpson hybrid on. You can see the little cords going up to his helmet. But it's just the reasoning why they left the window net down was because apparently they didn't have the right tool to wrench it up to have the window up. And I want to say I saw a picture of it being taped up later or some shit. I don't know. But
Jeez.
Anyway,
you'd think you just keep that in your trailer at all times.
You'd think, but apparently not. You're gonna haul all the way over to Hickory and bring these people out. And again, whatever. It's your own personal safety. It's up to you. You know, how dumb you want to be. But if I showed up to a test that I paid money for, you know, me being a professional race car driver, and they didn't have the proper tool to get my fucking window net up or an alternative to get my window net up, then what else have they not done on that car?
Yeah.
Like, what else is missing, for fuck's sake?
Yeah.
So don't give those people any more money.
Just
Go
a
back
bad
to Michigan.
Yeah, just a bad look. And I know a lot of people are like, well, they didn't used to do that back in the day. And I was like, yeah, all those race car drivers from the 60s fucking died. So it's kind of why they do it now.
We've all seen the videos of their arms flopping out.
Yeah, and there's no punishment for doing this. You rent the track, you got to do whatever you want. But I don't know, man. It's one of those things where, like, a couple weeks ago, we just watched a guy not running a rock screen take one right through the visor.
Yeah.
And we all saw how that turned out. And to do something like that at a place, even if you're by yourself on the racetrack, shit can happen. And it's just not a smart idea, especially in a fucking Rise Motorsports car. So, with all respectfully.
This will be our last other podcast note about other podcasts, but Denny Hamlin told a fun story on his show this week about
speaking of animals, man, Jesus Christ.
They were leaving the track, and there was a police escort, and all the drivers and stuff were behind the police escort. And basically, long story short, to get into this line of cars, like, Richard Childress just doored the shit out of another one of JGR's rental cars, and like then he posted a picture, and like he fucking ruined like the passenger side door of this car,
driving like his grandson.
Yeah.
Which it's kind of a funny thing because like there's definitely been stories out there of like NASCAR driver, any race car drivers just destroying rental cars, and this just kind of fits in with that. And definitely, I want to get to that point in my life where I can just bash the shit out of people with my rental car and not even think twice about it. So
I'd say Pop has earned it.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to know why Kyle Busch isn't winning, it's because all of Pop's money is tied up elsewhere.
It's going to budget.
The extra $25 he spent on insurance. That's all
Every
he
week.
did, I'm sure.
I want to see his car after doing that.
Yeah, I would like to see that myself. I'm surprised he didn't get a flat or something out of it. Outside of it now, moving on to non-NASCAR news, Hayden Deegan, who is the brother of Haley and son of Brian Deegan.
Yep, current 250cc points leader in the Supercross series.
Yep, he got arrested for street racing on a motorcycle. Which, probably not the best look, but if you're gonna get in trouble with the law as a race car driver, I would say it's one of the more passable offenses.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have a problem with it.
Like any sort of DUI, that's awful, or anything involving any sort of assault, that's all bad. But yeah, just getting arrested for street racing, that's one of those things where it's like, okay, well,
yeah, this is definitely more Pop running Denny Hamlin off the interstate than Rob Moroso, that's for sure. So,
Jesus Christ,
am I wrong about that? Yeah, Hayden Deegan, definitely a classic shithead, but I definitely enjoyed seeing his mugshot.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good. Also, Supercross was in Birmingham over the weekend. Chase Sexton got the overall 450 win and over Malcolm Stewart and Aaron Plessinger. Everyone loved that. And then Nate Thrasher won the 250. I don't know where Hayden finished. Maybe he was in jail. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Speaking of doing cool...
Yeah, doing cool
race
stuff.
Car driver shit.
There was a tweet that someone made. This is involving about catering at F1 races. Yeah. Which, funny enough, I was talking to our friend Stacy over the weekend, and she was talking about how like all the kitchens at all the F1 tracks had to be like rebuilt or something, which seems insane to me. But anyways,
the budgeting thing.
I don't fucking know, man. It's all shit I don't care about. But
It's a funny
this
story.
tweet, I'll never forget when someone posted the food costs at the Miami Grand Prix. My heart genuinely stopped. And Willie T. Ribs replied with, cocaine was cheaper.
Yeah. Which it was.
Which, yeah, I'm sure it probably was compared to some of those menu
Also make
prices.
your heart stop.
Yeah.
If you don't follow Willie T on Twitter, I suggest you do, because he doesn't tweet a lot of unhinged stuff, but if you go in his replies to tweets are hilarious and insane.
A man of the people, for sure.
Yeah, there was, I was looking today, and there was a post someone had made about a black man that was arrested for walking with a white lady in 1901, and Willie T replied to it, "Little dicks afraid of big dicks." And then there was another one. It was a picture of some politician, and Willie T had written under it, "This guy looks like a gerbil on crack." So, lots of great content from Willie T on Twitter.
You put a fucking F1. Who the hell cares about F1? Just because I talked about it once.
That's a funny story.
The kid at Red Bull's probably going to be out of his car.
Yeah, Liam Lawson, after 2 races, is already out, and Yuki Tsunoda's going to take his ride, even though the fucking other car is probably better than the Red Bull. That's it.
Yeah, great, wonderful.
So,
IndyCar.
Well, hold on a second. I want to talk about this catering thing. So the story behind it, this is going to make Brian's blood boil, too, because this is the most FIA shit you ever heard. Red Bull breached their budget cap agreement a couple years ago, and it was because they got fined $7 million for going over the budget because of their catering truck.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, very expensive catering. I assume that's what Stacy's talking about.
No, she wasn't talking about. She said something about the kitchens at the actual tracks had to be rebuilt or something. Again, I talk about it one F1 race, and now we got to talk about it on the show. Jesus Christ.
Well, you'll be happy to know the Chinese Grand Prix was very boring, and Piastri got a win, and who gives a shit? So we're back to normal.
You didn't wake up at 3 a.m. to watch it?
God, no. The Highlander race was going long enough to where I thought maybe I'd make it to 3 and we could watch the start, which is really all that matters. But no, it wrapped up at like 1, and that was enough for Grandpa over here. Yeah. So that's best left to the highlight reels.
Saturday there was a lot of racing. Like I had big blocks from Bridgeport.
Yep. Yeah.
I had that on at the same time as the Xfinity race, and then High Limit was later, and there's a lot of racing going on this weekend.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But racing that some of us didn't see. So IndyCar was running at the same time. Same time. Yeah, as NASCAR, which, not that we're going to get into ratings chat too much over here, because I hear, that's a wrestling thing. Like, the ratings chat over in the wrestling world is fucking insane. Like, people are just nuts about it. But, like, the IndyCar race only got 700,000 viewers, where there was, like, 2 point something million watching NASCAR. Don't do that. And this is Fox versus FS1. But at the meantime, their broadcast totally shit out at one point. They moved NASCAR onto both stations while they were fixing that.
And there's a power issue.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell the story was there. I didn't watch a second of that race.
There was a brief moment where it came back on the air, and they did not realize they were back on the air. Mm-hmm. And James Hinchcliffe was doing a Christopher Walken voice calling the race.
That's where that clip came from. Okay, yeah. I did see that.
So that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I did not see that.
Yeah, they had Mikey Waltrip out there hacking at the big power cable so NASCAR could get back on Big Fox. That's my theory right there.
Dropping
and then
tacos.
You've got to know. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I didn't see the incident, but I saw that Scott McLaughlin was screaming at Devlin, whatever his last name is.
DeFrancesco, yeah.
Yeah. And then...
Yeah, he held him up for a few laps and cost him greatly, and did not like that. But that's, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Also, IndyCar fans bullied Fox to get rid of their cartoon drawings after one race, while NASCAR fans have been begging for like 4 years to no avail. So
even the drivers hate that shit too. But in saying that, they got rid of the cartoons, but they apparently turned Scott McLaughlin into, I think that's Stingray Rob. I was
gonna say it looks like Carson Hocevar with a '90s haircut.
I don't know who that is, but it's
What did they do to this man? We'll post this on the Instagram.
And Joseph Newgarden had a love child to me, but
Looks like he's trying to sell me solar at Lowe's. I'm just trying to buy some fucking charcoal. This motherfucker's coming up and bothering me. Yeah, that's not Scott McLaughlin, I can tell you that.
no,
yeah.
not at all.
I guess we'll get into a tiny bit of paint scheme chat here. We've got notes on, let's see, Chris Buescher and Riley Herbst's paint schemes. Now, I saw Chris Buescher's. He's got a very cool Old El Paso Tacos paint scheme. Looks great.
We'll be buying that diecast.
Well, it looks great from the side, but the drawing that they posted very conveniently left out the hood, which is all white with a blue Kroger logo on it. So,
Oh, what the fuck? Come on.
yeah, kind of ruins the rest of it.
I get it, but
Yeah, I do too, but it's still awful. But what's Riley Herbst's scheme? I didn't.
I just wanted to mention that there's a new nicotine pouch on Herbst's car this
that's
week.
right.
The
That's right.
Lucy breakers.
I've heard of Lucy's before, but I think they're bigger elsewhere. I forget who. I think that's a Joe Rogan thing, actually, now that I talk about it, which, yeah, I'm going to stick with my zones. So I got to back Kyle Busch. Support the sponsors that support the sport, folks.
There you go.
Although we can't mention paint schemes without the worst paint scheme of Darlington.
we really need to talk about this.
Chase Elliott.
So bad.
Chase Elliott's paint scheme is supposed to pay tribute to Ken Schrader's Kodiak car, but
Supposed to.
because of Universe, like they can't use the actual colors. But it's just like, why did you even do this?
Yeah, like for a second I was mad because I was like, why even give that weekend to a sponsor that isn't gonna, get on board with it? But then I remembered last year that incredible Dale Jr. throwback that Chase did, and that was Universe too. So like, what happened between last year and this year to where Universe was like, no, we don't want to change our colors, nothing. So
Yeah, I will say that this looks better than the normal Universe wrap,
Yes.
so I'll take that.
if this was the primary Universe scheme, I would be stoked on it. But
But not to talk
I would
about-
rather you not do a throwback at all than whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah,
'cause that's not it.
Just because you say it looks like something doesn't mean that it looks like something.
Yeah.
And this is hideous. And the funny thing about it is it looks like the Mercedes F1 car from like 2016. It's like identical colors. It's like a Nico Rosberg throwback, which is not what it is.
I don't know, Robbie. The photo you sent, that car looks super gray to me. Which there's no gray on Chase Elliott's car.
It might just be the light, but it's similar, and it's definitely closer to that than it is to Ken Schrader's Kodiak car,
Yeah, that's fair.
which I think is really, really funny. And I wonder how much they had to skirt the tobacco ban rules to put that together and not, fuck with any IP or anything like that. I'm curious.
I don't think there's anything like that because Jeremy Clements just posted a really good 84 Harry Gant paint scheme. It looks
True.
fucking great. So I don't know. I know it's all stupid. It's awful. In saying that, it sounds like the other Hendrick cars throwbacks should be good.
Didn't you say Larson was doing the Terry
They
Labonte
can't say.
one?
Don't say him yet. Don't say him yet. We we got to keep some secrets. But,
I didn't say which one. I did not know that was top secret, but yeah, you can guess which one.
But yeah, from what I've heard, the other three have very straightforward, classic. They get to, do the paint scheme. So
And I'm a huge fan of Zilich's Buddy Baker paint scheme. Ryan, I know Ryan Williams and I have talked about this car, and he loves old Buddy Baker schemes. So he did a masterful job paying tribute to that. And they even changed the font to look like Buddy's font. So
Yeah, it is really,
perfect,
really cool.
just perfect.
Speaking of Jeremy Clements, he's running a pretty cool hot dog car at Martinsville this weekend.
it's
Got a big old
That's
Martinsville hot dog running down the side. Also
I gotta
pretty
find this right now.
classic
'cause
looking.
I love a fucking hot dog.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure his sponsor has nothing to do with hot dogs. They just slapped one right on the side, and it looks great.
Where are you seeing this? Give me the dog.
Just look up Jeremy Clements hot dog. Well, maybe don't do that. But I mean, that would probably work, to be honest with you. I don't think he's got any unmentionables out there on the
Well,
internet.
you never know.
Yeah, you never know. What? Was it Dar for the Week time?
Yeah, so there's two of them here. You're gonna have to explain this first one.
Yeah.
Because,
So
The hot dog, I see it now.
yeah,
Sorry.
isn't it cool with all
great.
the slaw on top? I could eat a bag of those things right now.
Man, that's great.
That old
Okay.
hot dogs.
Anyways.
Yeah, we'll post a picture of that on the internet so you can see it. This going back to the IndyCar broadcast and how the ratings were not ideal for them. Hopefully that turns around. Again, kind of a shit situation for IndyCar to be in there, going to a racetrack that nobody can even go to because they don't have grandstands really. I think there was like 1,000 tickets available and they were super expensive because Thermal Club is like a rich guy's, kind of play park. But whatever, that's beside the point. The ratings stunk, and Racer.com had an article about this and how the broadcast went out and the troubles that Fox faced during the actual broadcast. And our first star for the week here comes, and again, there's two. I feel like I didn't really have a good one last week, so I wanted to make up for it this week, and we have a couple of great candidates. Lori Miller on Facebook. She's got a very cute dog as her profile pic, so I'll give her that. She responds to this Racer article about the IndyCar broadcast going off the air momentarily, saying, I predict the season on whole will have lower viewership. They didn't even put a subscription in place. Many fans have no easy or affordable option to watch.
it's on Fox for free.
Yeah, it's on
Fuck.
every single race is on Fox. Every single race. And everyone can watch that. So, yeah, Dar for the week.
She
At
must
least
have tuned in during those 10 minutes where NASCAR was on both channels.
it's true. Which, you know what, whatever, that's dumb internet stuff, who cares? This next one really just burns me to the core, and all of us.
I know we're all in agreement with this. So
So yeah, that's a runner-up. This is the real one.
this guy Dab for Dale, like, I know he follows me and I have him muted because like he just has a lot of stupid shit. But his tweet was, hot take, it's okay to call this a NASCAR. No, it is never okay. If you're a real fan of the sport, like, you cannot call a NASCAR stock car a NASCAR. It is like one of the most ignorant ways to me to refer to a race car.
Are we sure this wasn't rage bait?
I mean, part of me thinks it is,
but it worked.
Again, I've got that's why I didn't respond to it, because like, Dillner, of course, a bunch of people responded. Dillner,
Yeah, his response is great. No, never. It's a NASCAR race car or a NASCAR stock car. Period. End of story. I too will die on this hill.
Which is it's exactly how I feel. I'm sure it's how we all feel. Yeah, don't call it a NASCAR. You sound like
Please
a dumbass.
don't. Yeah.
Like, don't.
Yeah, that's our Dar for the week, and he'll be forced into what would you call that? What was that shit called in Clockwork Orange, where they like held the guy's eyes open and made him watch whatever the fuck that was? Yeah, well, we're gonna do that to this kid and teach him how to speak properly.
I'm back to death. This guy he's gone. It's fine.
I was sad that last week we got a really great submission, like hours after we recorded, from Mike Wallace being an idiot.
Oh yeah.
Just barely
the infamous 47 hat
we didn't
controversy.
talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike Wallace, we can't not mention this. Thankfully, he did. It took him like 2 days to delete it, but he did delete the post. So Mike Wallace tweeted on his Facebook, which is where he has all his fun. If you remember, that's what got him suspended from NASCAR in the first place. He posted. And I wish I had the thing in front of me now.
It was the Josh Berry press conference after his win, and he had a.
No, it wasn't the press conference. He took a screenshot of his Dale Jr. interview, and in the interview, you can see him wearing his normal sponsor cap, and it's one of those 47 brand hats.
Yep.
So Mike goes on Facebook, and he's like, "Oh, it's great to see Josh Berry paying tribute to Trump with the 47 hat. He's got the red hat with the 47 on it. Like he said tribute to Trump twice, and it's just like, you're a fucking moron."
Again, these are politically divisive times. A lot of people disagreeing on stuff. I have not seen a more unified response from across the aisle. Like,
yes.
Nah, dude, it's a hat brand. Like, you still have time to take this off the internet.
Nope, and he kept it up.
Motorcraft on the front.
To the point to where Wood Brothers had to go and say that 47 is a hat brand. Just so you guys know, it's a hat brand.
I will say I have to take a little credit for this, because
oh yeah,
I'm the one who tweeted that out, and it got like 100-something thousand impressions, and like, in even the Wood Brothers responses, like somebody this chick Gwiz that follows me, she even responded with one of the replies to my tweet. Like, some guy called it a Microsoft hat, and she tweeted that, and then even the Wood Brothers like, LOL, I saw that. So like, my tweet is kind of to blame for this going viral, but I mean, it should have gone viral because Mike Wallace is a fucking moron. So I'm happy that I could contribute that.
Well, you also got mentioned in our friend Pop Tart's video or whatever the fuck his name is.
Well, yeah, we talked about that already, though. We talked about that. Listen.
Well, we didn't talk about his response that he posted online.
Oh, he didn't. Okay. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. So he posted a
what's his real name? But
Vanilla Wafer.
That's it.
He posted some like dumb fucking Twitter video. It was like NASCAR therapy, and he was like pretending to be all these different drivers, and then at the end he played himself, and he referenced my tweet making fun of his stupid fucking hat. So fuck him. I'm angry tonight. I don't know why. There's so many things pissing me off. I'm going to a race next week, and maybe that'll help.
Oh man.
All right, Rob. Now it's time to get into the shit.
Yeah, that's right. The septic tank. And as Brian said earlier, there was so much fucking racing to watch, and honestly, like, I've never had a weekend where the A mains or the features have lined up in such a way to where I'd have one on. It would end. I'd flip over to the next one. It would start. It was fucking beautiful this weekend. So I know that wasn't coordinated by any means, but just having all these big events spread out across different time zones, it really allowed everybody to watch a bunch of different stuff. And boy, there was a ton of stuff to watch.
It didn't line up for me with late models. Somehow I missed all the late model stuff. But I mean, I saw High Limit and, like I said, modifieds and other shit. So go ahead and roll on.
All right, sounds good. Well, of course, it is ground pounder season down south. Of course, Thompson Icebreaker is this weekend up north. I'm very much looking forward to seeing that if the weather participates, which, it's the Icebreaker. I'd say every other year it gets snowed out or rained out or some shit and moved to a week where I can't go. But, it is what it is. But down south, things are looking a lot better. We got nice temperatures, sunny days, and we had the king of the modifieds at South Boston in Virginia on Saturday. Speaking of Matthew Dillner, though, pretty much all of Long Island was covering that race. It was Matthew and Bob up in the booth doing the play-by-play, and Derek Pernasiglio down in the pits doing all the pit reporting. Definitely cool to see that band back together. Also, I think I said this to you guys, it's definitely weird to see Derek Pernasiglio with gray hair, because when you hear him talk to this day, I still just imagine, young Derek Pernasiglio, but no, he's a silver fox now, and he's still a great pit reporter, though, and it was awesome to see him out there. Of course, this is a Smart Tour event, so all the stars and cars of that series were there, with a bunch of Yankees that came down to try and win some money, particularly Ron Silk being the big one. He was pretty fast throughout the day, but ended up getting wrecked, and that was a bummer to see. That team's had some hard luck over the past few weeks. Ryan Newman got absolutely smoked by Gary Young Jr. Some cars got together, and this kid, I don't know if his throttle hung or he just kind of pinned it to the floor and just washed himself up the racetrack and completely wiped out Ryan Newman, and he was definitely not happy about it and gave one of the funniest interviews I've ever heard. Derek Pernasiglio meets him down on the pit road and walking back to his trailer, and one of the features of the South Boston race is that they try and get it done early enough so the sun doesn't become a factor in turn one. But of course, it being a Southern modified event, there's 4,000 wrecks and the show drags on and they don't count caution laps. So, kind of is what it is. And the sun had put itself in a position where people couldn't see. And so Derek asks Ryan, do you think the sun coming down in turn one and affecting everybody's vision had anything to do with it? And then to which Ryan replies something to the effect of, well, I'm sure that guy has a son, but that wasn't the problem there. And this was after he helped the tow truck guy hook his modified up to the back of the tow. Just not having a good afternoon. But that wasn't even the most entertaining shit that happened down in the pits. Of course, a few laps later, of course, Jack Baldwin and Jake Crum have had some drama earlier this year. Crum totally fenced him at Anderson a couple weeks ago, and really a fight or anything like that, but it's definitely some bad blood after that. This time it was reversed. Only I don't think Jack really meant to get up into him. I think he had a tire go down, or he just got loose and slipped up into Jake Crum, who was on his outside. They had been racing clean for a few laps, so it wasn't malicious. They were trying to keep it in line, but of course Jack got sideways and fenced him, and of course Jack almost gets drug out of his car by Jake Crum, which was something to watch. And a couple minutes pass as they're cleaning this up. Again, everything runs on Southern time, so it takes a little while. And as they're getting it cleaned up, there's a lot of brouhaha on pit road. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's Tommy Baldwin. And sure enough, it is, apparently. And I'm sure that if you've seen anything about the Smart Tour race this weekend, it was Tommy Baldwin screaming at Jamie Tomato's guys. He has a really funny account about that on the of what went down on DVC.
I thought his account on DBC was funnier than the actual incident.
Yeah, but the big takeaway is him screaming, "I'm sick of you, motherfuckers!" Which I love that. It wasn't on the broadcast, but you could see it happening from the camera on top of the press box or wherever that's located, and you can see that Rob Blount was down there with his camera, and it's like, God, I hope that footage makes it somewhere so we can see it. And sure enough, within the hour, it was up there.
Thank God it did. Yeah.
But yeah, that was that was pretty good. But yeah, after about 2 hours, after all that, Big Money Matt Hirschman picks up the win to no one's fucking surprise. So that's just how it goes. Yeah, if there's a lot of money on the line, it's gonna be Matt Hirschman taking it. Over on the sprint car side of things, again, there was a lot of action, particularly with High Limit. I just want to point out first that Brian, I know you watch High Limit somewhat often. True Love, I don't know about you, but
I just catch the highlights.
Well, that's probably not a bad thing, because they do this thing where a particular driver each weekend gets to make his own playlist. And
oh my God,
bitching about this in the group chat.
Consistently the worst music you've ever heard.
Yeah, it is. It's all just like new country dog shit. It is the fucking. Like,
it's not just that. It's all
or butt rock.
And just Taylor Swift and pop shit and weird. Like, I swear to God, like, I regretted buying a Tanner Thorson hoodie at the Chili Bowl after the monstrous playlist he unleashed on us a couple weeks ago or whenever that was. But oh my God, yeah, the best one was.
Post these playlists somewhere online?
Yeah, they do. Oh yeah, you can track it down.
To go look at these.
And there's a High Limit master playlist where they combine them all. So if you just want to give yourself a reason to not live, you can put that on shuffle and you'll hear all the stuff you never wanted to hear. It was bad. Yeah, Brad Sweets was terrible. I think that one was more for his kids, because I would expect a little more Brooks and Dunn or Garth Brooks out of him, judging by what I know his musical taste to sort of be. But yeah, that wasn't good. Rico's at least was all Whiskey Myers because they paid him to do it, I assume, because they're a sponsor on his car.
Oh my God, this playlist is 13 hours long, and it is the worst shit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, try to find a song you like on the playlist.
Yeah, good fucking luck with that. But yeah, I know why they do it. It's a nice little wrinkle, but goddamn, these guys have terrible taste in music. Stick to race cars, boys.
I can't think of any driver in the last 3 or 4 decades that has had decent music taste.
Well, Blaney's all right.
Blaney's pretty good. Blaney and Bubba
Blaney's pretty good
stuff.
Yeah.
Junior he occasionally will mention a band that's like, oh, I'm surprised you listen to that, but
yeah. And I'll say this, I'm being a little harsh here. Like, you like what you like. Things affect you for whatever reason, but just whatever it is about these guys and the High Limit Master playlist, it's just nothing that does anything for me, that's for sure. And it's incredible how it continues to grow, and I continue to get more and more frustrated with it every single week. But anyway, on to the racing. Out in California all weekend, Kyle Larson cowboyed up and picked up a big win at Tulare. I also got on 2 wheels in qualifying. That was pretty badass. Everyone liked to see that. Casey Kane Racing had a big weekend at Kern. Yeah, Casey's been showing some speed lately. Really, he has, and particularly at Kern County. He came in second behind his teammate Brad Sweet. So that's some of the High Limit money going right back into Brad's pocket, so good for him. And then I think the story of the week is definitely Aaron Reitzel picking up a win in our Tough Customer of the Week award, winning at Paris. Of course, last week he had a rock through his visor. And this week he went out and picked up a big trophy. And I don't think we'll post it because it's all over the internet already.
That's gross.
But there's a picture of his helmet with the blood and the mud and whatever all over it, and the hole in the center of the visor, and then the trophy he won sitting right next to it. And I don't think I've ever seen a more poignant picture of the highs and lows of sprint car racing. It's pretty badass, and I'm not an Aaron Reitzel fan, but mad respect, dude. Mad respect. And he ran a rock screen this weekend, so he learned something out of the whole deal.
There you go.
Yeah, rough start for the rookies over the weekend, too. Dason Pursley, Cy Lynch, and Danny Sams, the second or third, whichever one he is. I forget. All of them getting on their lids at some point. Cy Lynch and Days in particular having really tough times getting their rookie campaigns in 410 started. So we'll see how that turns around. But I believe Brad Sweet's at the top of the points right now, which no one's surprised about that. Speaking of people not being surprised about who's on top of the point standing, David Gravel completely walked everybody at the Texas two-step down at Cotton Bowl. Of course, a friend of the program, Alex Hammett, was down there again with Jordy and a bunch of other folks, and none of them were thrilled to see that, especially when David Gravel put his cowboy hat on backwards in victory lane like the Yankee that he is. So... Over on the dirt late model side, Ricky Thornton Jr. picked up a win at Atomic over Josh Rice. I'm a big Josh Rice fan, so seeing them come in 1-2 was particularly cool, and I enjoyed the shit out of that. Actually, Josh Rice had a good weekend in general. He had a top 5 finish at Brownstown. Devin Moran picked up the win there over Ricky Thornton Jr., and I believe Jonathan Davenport was in third. Now RTJ and Moran are tied for the points lead in the Lucas Oil Series with Jonathan Davenport, Brandon Overton in the Longhorn House Car in 4th, and Dalton Wilson in 5th place. So things looking pretty spicy over there. And behind that, there's a whole bunch of cool dudes. So we'll see if they can win some shit and catch up before the playoff break happens in a few months. But it's going to be tough to catch those guys. Looks like we're about to see a repeat of exactly what we saw last year, at least with RTJ, Superman, and Devin Moran. Over on the World of Outlaws late model side, there at Swainsboro, Bobby Pierce picked up a win on night 1, and Ryan Gustin, the Reaper, picked up a win on night 2. Everyone liked that. And yeah, you watched some big blocks, didn't you, Brian? Anything you want to talk about there?
The Doug Hoffman Memorial was at Bridgeport, and I mean, it was fine. Billy Pouch was on the pole, which was cool.
Very cool.
I didn't realize he's still pretty active there, I guess. He just doesn't run too many big races. But him and Alex Payne were fighting for the lead for most of it. Billy Pouch pulled off like halfway through. Something was wrong with his car. And then, of course, Stuart Friesen ended up getting the lead with like 15 to go, and that was it. So, I mean, it was fine. It was big block, so I'll watch it. But getting kind of tired of seeing Friesen win. Like, I like Alex Yankowski and Matt Shepard, and I haven't seen those guys actually win in a while. So, kind of tired of Friesen. But, I mean, like I said, I watched that in High Limit, and I missed the late, like, the timing didn't work out for me with late model stuff. Like, I wanted to see some of the late model stuff, but I just missed all of it, so.
Yeah, some great shows this weekend for sure. And there's, unfortunately, not a lot of late model action this weekend. Well, that's not true. The Nippy 50 is this weekend at Makakita. That's a big Midwest event. Since Lucas Oil and World of Outlaws both don't have anything scheduled, I'm sure you could expect to see some of the big teams show up for that, but I'm not exactly sure who is going to be showing up. But that's always a good show. That's on Flow Racing. Sorry, you're going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, so Fremont, one of my kind of local tracks, like, they had races scheduled last weekend and this weekend, and they had to, like, why would you book them? Like, it was 40 and raining last weekend. It's going to be raining all weekend this weekend, so I don't know why they would even book races that early in the season. But
well, the weather's shifting a little bit. And, maybe it's something for some of these tracks to do is open up later and stay open later. But then you get into big event season, and I don't know. It's got to be tough to run a racetrack because the weather is fucking unpredictable. Speaking of which, there is a lot of racing happening this weekend. Just because late models are off, or at least the only big show I know of is the Nippy 50. High Limits at Central Arizona this weekend for 2 nights. That'll be fun to watch. The Cars Tour is back at Wake County. The World of Outlaws are going to Oklahoma. Ooh, and Kansas, too. They're going to Lawton 81 Speedway up in Wichita. And, of course, I'm most excited about the Icebreaker at Thompson Speedway, about 20 minutes from my house. Tri-Track Modifieds on Saturday, and of course on Sunday, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour will be out there. Don't think I'm going to be able to make it there on Saturday. Honestly, I might get to see that program anyway, depending on how the rain falls, because Saturday's looking kind of like a wash at the moment. Which has got all the amateur meteorologists on Facebook out there complaining about why they didn't decide to run this, 2 weeks ago or, a month from now or whatever. But again, a big old game of if I ran the racetrack. But what can you do? Really, it's the fucking weather. Although this is the earliest they've run the Icebreaker. But Sunday's looking a little better. At least it was last time I checked. And at least get to see some modified racing this weekend. From my lawn chair in Turn 4, and I'm very, very excited about that to kick off the outdoor portion of my 2025 DARF campaign. And with that, I guess we stay in the septic tank for this week's video of the week.
Yeah, talking about some more modified action. So I gotta apologize. We picked the 89 Martinsville modified race, the Ranger Boats 150, and I don't know how I missed this.
The NASCAR Classics version.
That's the thing. I don't know how I missed that. Like when I was searching for stuff, like I don't know. I don't know why it didn't come up, because when I was watching this, I'm like, wait, this isn't going to get to finish. And then I went and found the NASCAR one, which was better quality anyways. So
yeah, well, there's a little bit of extra stuff at the beginning, interviews,
yes,
that sort of thing, which does make the one that you chose worth it. It kind of lays out. You get to see the full field. It's definitely a little cooler, even if the quality isn't as good. So not a bad choice.
It was a little hard to watch, especially the racing, because the video was very jumpy. So
at least at the beginning, it smoothed out later on. But yeah, the beginning was tough. I'll admit that.
Yeah, but like Brian said, this is on the NASCAR Classics, and they did a great job of restoring it. It looks nice and crisp and solid. But unfortunately, it is missing the pre-race, which is only like 2 or 3 minutes worth of stuff. But it's an informative 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, it starts off with Jackaroot. Speaking of Rob's favorite, Tommy Baldwin, who crashed in qualifying, and he had to replace all of his suspension and got it all done 5 minutes before the race started. Yeah. This race has some recognizable names. Of course, you've got like Mike Stefanik, Reggie Ruggiero, Mike McLaughlin, the Fuller brothers, Jimmy Spencer, and then I guess I didn't realize his history here, but we got Eddie DeHaan, the famous Hendrick spotter that was fired for beating his wife. He's in this, and he ends up spinning at one point.
No, that's not what happened. He got in...
I was like, I don't remember that story.
No, he got into an argument with like a lady at a golf cart rental place or some shit like that. Jet skis. That's
whatever. He definitely got arrested. He got arrested.
He did, but he got exonerated. So Eddie DeHaan's cool.
Didn't he say some other sketchy shit on Twitter?
Anymore.
I don't know, but.
Yeah.
I got Jimmy Spencer bald as fuck on my TV right now, though, because I'm watching this along this. That was
real bald.
A shock to see.
Race.
You forget that used to be the case.
Yeah, before he got his hair plugged. Well, It's funny because you get bald Jimmy Spencer, and then I think every other driver in the field has a mustache.
Yeah.
Like every single one you see has some sort of mustache. Let's see. Before the race, also we get an interesting note, which didn't really play out, but. They said to help with overheating, which that is a factor later on in the race. Mike Stefanik had an extra large fan in his car, and it didn't really fit in the car. But they were just going to let it run because they didn't have time to change it. They were just going to let it run and then let the fan eat a hole in the hood, which was pretty funny. Mike McLaughlin had there was a bunch of Coors Black Gold paint schemes around this era, and he has a really cool one.
That one looked great.
I love those schemes. And then you get Benny Parsons and Bob Jenkins in the booth with Brett Bodine, who he has plenty of modified experience, so not the worst guy to have in the booth with you. Starts off, we get George Kent getting black flag for a fluid leak. It turns out he was one of the many cars who were dealing with overheating problems. And really the story of this race, more than anything, is just the battle between Mike Stefanik and Reggie Ruggiero.
So good.
The story here with Reggie was his car was, again, dealing with overheating all day, and he was underpowered when he was behind Stefanik, and he just couldn't get around him. Like the entire race, like he was just doing everything he could to get around him to cool his car down, but he just couldn't do it. Let's see, we get the first caution.
Unitsko, Mike Unitsko.
Mike Unitsko. He spins, and then Jeff Fuller clips him and completely knocks, not the wheel completely, but the whole tire just gets ripped off the car, and he's just out of the race. We get an interview with Jeff Fuller, and his helmet hair looks great.
Oh, yeah.
Again, lots of battling with Stefanik and Ruggiero. At one point, they cut to commercial, and as they're cutting to commercial, you just get a shot of Jeff Bodine eating ice cream on his trailer watching the race, which I thought was cute.
Yep.
We get a caution at lap 51 with Chris Ross spinning. Then we get an update on Mike Stefanik's fan. At this point, it still hadn't eaten through the hood of the car. People think Reggie's car is smoking, but it turns out Reggie's crew chief says it's Mike Stefanik's car, and Benny thinks it has something to do with the hood, and Brett Bodine disagrees.
Yeah, it's like I think he thought it was the air coming through the bottom, pushing it up. Maybe it won't be a problem, and then Brett's like, "No, it's actually probably the opposite." And then they just kind of let that one lie and die there. So.
Get another caution for Satch Worley, which is an amazing name.
Legend. Satch is a legend. So many legendary drivers in this race, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Here we get a wreck with Tommy Baldwin and Jamie Tomino.
Yep.
Tomino.
To be clear, that's Tommy Baldwin's dad, Tom Baldwin.
Yeah.
And Jamie Tomino, ironically, is the guy who owns the car that Jake Crum's driving right now. So
Tommy Baldwin, the guy who's on DBC that you just talked about a bunch.
Yep.
That's not this Tommy Baldwin in the race. It's his dad.
No, that's his father.
It's his dad's Tom Senior.
Yep.
Oh Jesus! How many Baldwins are there? Like Tommy Baldwin
So
now,
many.
he's old. I thought it was him.
It's all Long Island. Like,
That's fair.
but yeah, I didn't even put that together. It is pretty funny that the two of them got together in this and what happened at South Boston this weekend. No hard feelings between Tomato and the Baldwins.
No, he had a nice interview, and he didn't seem to be pissed at anybody. Just shit happened.
He had a great quote that said, "Somebody from behind me cremated me." I was like, "Oh, that's a new one."
that's one way to put it. And then we also get him disagreeing with Brett. So Brett thinks that everybody is on these harder tires because nobody wants to pit. They just want to run the whole race continuously. But then Jamie's like, "No, I got soft tires on my car." So, Brett the modified guy was off there. At one point, they start talking about how one of the cars is based off what was then new, the Ford Probe, which I don't know, man. There's not one modified.
It was the U2, yeah, Rick Fuller's car.
Yeah, there's not one modified you can show me that looks anything like a street car. Like, there's nothing about those cars that resembles a street car to me at all. I know they were pointing out little things, but I don't see it myself.
I mean, it's true. They were built off those frames, but obviously the word modified comes into play here. And these days it's all custom built shit for the most part. You're not seeing any Ford Probes or Pintos out there or anything like that. But in these days it was the way it was. And just one more comment about that Probe out there. I love that U2 car. That's an iconic paint job and number there. And of course, no. Well, I do like you two as well, but I'm an unforgettable fire and back kind of guy. Yeah. But yeah, the Fullers, I think they live just up the road from me. Auburn's the next town over, so anytime I get to see something with those guys, I enjoy it. But yeah, anyway, continue.
We get a red flag at lap 79 from Wayne Edwards, who crashed, and it took him a while to get him out of the car. You do see him walking at one point, and they don't really give a good status update as to what happened, but they do bring up the point that, even though some of these drivers get injured and the injuries aren't that severe, it's so incredibly difficult to get in and out of the cars that's what led to this. The red flag and all that. So I guess that's an interesting note. During this red flag, we get a track facts segment and with Jerry Punch, and he talks about some of the rule changes on the modifieds the last few years, and one of them stuck out to me. They had to run smaller carburetors at Martinsville, which I wonder if that has anything to do with Charlie Jarzenbeck dying there a couple years prior. I have a feeling it probably did.
And Richie
but,
too.
Who knows? And then going to another commercial break, we get a shot of a lovely mulleted Michael Waltrip watching the race as my dog scratches his
shaking its big old
fucking
cone.
That's the cone, huh?
Yeah, that's the cone.
Sounds like a big cone.
Yeah. Let's see. Then we get Kenny Schrader gets interviewed, and he talks about trading cars with Brian Ross. He was going to run the modified 6 races, and Brian was going to run his ARCA car. They gave us an update on Wayne. All they say is he's stable and headed to the hospital. That's it. That's all you get.
Yeah, Ken Schrader is sitting on top of his hauler with 3 women drinking lemonade, looking very much like a great value brand Tim Richmond.
Then we get, let's see, we go back to green, and Reggie still can't get by Mike. At this point, they think his head gasket is starting to go. We get another caution for 3 cars spinning that includes Eddie DeHaan. Jackaroot talks more about the overheating issues. We see Jerry Punch back in the infield, where Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine are sitting like one hauler across from each other, watching the race, which, especially in this era, when I guess at this point, I think their feud had kind of cooled down a little bit by 89.
This was after the come to Jesus talks
yeah.
with NASCAR and Bill France. So,
but it's still funny to see them next to each other.
Yeah.
And let's see, we go back to green. Benny thinks something is wrong with Mike Stefanik, which there wasn't because he still led the rest of the race. We get Lee Sherwood wrecking, and Benny brings up how much he loves Reggie's Teddy Bear Pools paint scheme.
Oh, I love it too.
Which was a cool paint scheme. I think I've even seen a shirt of that.
Well, Ryan Preece did a throwback in the Truck Series.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably where a lot of people recognize that from.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a legendary Fiore paint scheme right there, Mario Fiore.
Yeah. Let's see. Before I had to cut back over to the NASCAR feed, there's 2 cars. Yeah, 2 cars spun, and there was no caution. I switched back over to the NASCAR video for the last few laps, and the guys were in lap traffic, but Mike Stefanik still was able to keep the lead, and I guess he led all 150 laps, and didn't give the most excited victory lane speech I've ever seen, but he still seemed pretty happy to win.
He's always
that
pretty
race,
subdued. So.
Yeah. Except for that one time.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get to see that part. I'll have to put on the NASCAR Classics one.
Yeah, that's true. It does cut off.
This was a cool race. I mean, honestly, I've seen a couple modified races at this point, but the guys were kind of getting into it more than I would have expected, and even the battle for the lead. I mean, yeah, Mike led all the laps, but it wasn't like he had a commanding lead. I mean, Reggie was on his ass the entire time and was doing everything he could to pass him. So it was very cool. It was a fun watch. So any final notes from y'all?
I mean, any modified content I'm going to be good with. I love this shit, and this is the racing I see the most. Again, this is such a special little time capsule with so many greats. Obviously, like Richie Evans and Charlie Jarzenbach. I can never say his name right. Jarzenbach, yeah. They had passed away a couple years prior. But this is still quite the list of stars here, and future NASCAR stars as well. Of course, Steve Park's in this race. Tony Hirschman's in there.
It's not that Steve Park. It's fun because I looked it up. I was like, that can't be the Steve Park. So they I don't know what the hell happened because it said Stephen Park, but then they later say Mike Park. I don't know what the hell, but I don't know.
There's a Mike Park in the race too. That is the Steve Park.
No, it can't be.
It is.
No,
I'm telling you, it's that Steve Park.
I could not find any info from him. Like, he got his first win in '95. Like, I can't believe it took him 6 years to get one.
The modifieds? I'm pretty sure it's the same guy, but
I don't know, man. I don't think it is, but we can fight about this.
Yeah, but anyway, lots of legends in this one. Charlie Pastriak, of course, out there. Frank Fleming, the Fullers. This is just such a cool little time capsule. And again, all the Benny Parsons content you can get, I'm here for. And I will say this about Martinsville: it looks so much bigger without the grandstands surrounding it. Like Martinsville and Bristol too. It just looks different without everything being completely surrounded. And granted, there's a lot of grandstands here, but it's not like it is now with the giant metal stands. It's still the old concrete bleachers and shit. So
yeah, I miss the grass.
Yeah, the grass is super cool and all the flowers and everything. But yeah, this is a great little race. And like I said, anytime we can talk about modifieds on here, I am all for it.
Yeah. Like I said, the race itself was hard for me to watch because the screen was so jumpy that I was like, I'm going to get seasick. But I really enjoyed all the other, like, you know, off the track content, the pre-race, all the little interviews, all the shots, random shots here and there. Lots of names in here that, like, you picked a great race with, you know, tons of the big names in it. So, like Rob said, a nice little time capsule. The only thing that I wanted to talk about that isn't related to modified racing at all is that scene where Dale Earnhardt is on the hauler and they talk about, he's wearing a Braves hat, so they start talking about his friend Jody Davis, who played for the Braves for a few years, and a little bet that they had going on. But fun fact that me and Jody Davis went to the same high school, and I grew up just a couple miles from him, so it was Dale's hunting and fishing buddy. But another thing, I know you yelled at me last week for not watching the Carl Edwards interview, but I've started chipping away at it. And so that story, I'm not going to go into the whole story. I'm sure everyone's heard it, but there's a great story about Dale Jr. when he was 15, spending a week with Ken Schrader. The Midwest.
If you haven't listened to that, I mean, the Ken Schrader Dale Jr. download where he also talks about, like, you know, going over to Dale's car when he wrecked, like, they get way more into that story on that show, and that that was good.
But that story's been on the forefront of my mind after watching the Carl Edwards interview. And in this clip, when they show Ken Schrader surrounded by all those women, and then they show Dale Jr., who is sitting next to Dale Sr. on top of that hauler, and he is about 15 in this, and he looks so much younger than 15, but he's 15, which is around the time that story would have taken place, with Ken Schrader taking Dale Jr. to the strip club parking lot.
No wonder they wouldn't let him in looking like that.
Yeah.
One more thing I'll say about this, of course, this was Mike Stefanik's first win at Martinsville. He turned a lot of heads a couple years prior when he won both the Modified Tour and Busch North titles in the same year, which is absurd because they didn't race on the same weekends ever, or together anyway. They often raced on the same weekends, but never at the same racetrack, and he's able to win championships in both. Just an incredible driver, and definitely one of the true legends of racing up here. Was very blessed to get to see his exhibit at the Hall of Fame down in Charlotte last year. And also just shout out to the Sid's View podcast guys from up here. Sid's View has been doing video content at Waterford and Stafford and all these places for, God, as long as I've been tuned into Modifieds and then some. And they just put out a really amazing documentary about the life of Mike Stefanik. I think it was like a week or two ago. And it's about 3 hours long, but it goes by super quick and it will make you cry. And it really does it's super well done. And it really shows you just how special Mike as a driver was, even up until the very end. So I recommend checking that out. I'd say we watch it for a video of the week, but it's 3 hours, so you have to break that one up. But do yourself a favor. Sid's View is the name of the channel. They have a podcast that's all right, but again, they've been doing content, and we're definitely trailblazers in short track stuff up here. Oftentimes the only folks that were regularly filming races and making content even before that was a thing, and now they started doing documentaries, and this one is particularly awesome, so I highly recommend it.
Nice.
And just to win this argument with Brian, that is Steve Park. I went to the third turn just to check his stats here. This was his second full-time season in the Modified Tour.
Ah, okay. All right.
So he was still a new guy, but he was in Cup by 97, 98, and he didn't really win in the Modified Tour until I think it was like
95.
92.
I told you 95. I looked it up. 95 was his first win.
No, he won in 91.
His Wikipedia says 95, so Wikipedia is wrong. Great.
Yeah, but he was around for a while. He ran Busch North and all that other stuff. So, but yeah, he wasn't Steve Park as we know him at this point.
I really hope you and Brian wrestle at Darlington over Steve Park's stats.
Way to spoil that. Well, anyways, so yeah, moving on to video of the week. So yes, Darlington is next week. It's my first race trip of the year, and it's wild to think about.
A week after
now.
next.
Well, this weekend is Martinsville. Next weekend's Darlington.
Yeah.
So video of the week. I found some more interesting stuff for the Southern 500, but we'll save that for later on in the season.
Cool.
However, for the spring race, so obviously, the Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch finish is one of the all-time greatest NASCAR moments there is, and it happened in the spring race here in 2003. But I'm going to highlight another Darlington finish that I think kind of gets overshadowed a little bit because the last lap is under caution, but the race to the caution is probably just as good between two very well-known drivers, and it is the 1998 Duralube 200 from Darlington. This was the spring race that year, the Busch race. I found a broadcast that has everything in it, commercials, all that stuff. It does have RPM tonight, which we're not going to talk about because, 2 hours is enough just talking about the race. But the race itself is amazing. The commercials are amazing, and the finish is amazing. So that is the video of the week for next week.
That is a good one.
And as mentioned, I will be in Darlington, and it sounds like Rob is going to be there as well. So I'm very excited for that.
Yep.
We'll, if you want to hang out and drink beers with us at Darlington, just send us a DM because we'll be there doing it. So
I've never
about Steve Park stats.
Yeah. By the way, the Third Turn is an excellent website for old racing stats that Racing Reference might not cover. So it's my go-to for all this nerdy shit. When I have to win an argument on a podcast, but I've never been to Darlington before. It's still not 100% set in stone, but it's really leaning in that direction, and it looks like I will be there. First time in the building, or not building, but you know what I mean. And I'm really, really excited because it's very high on my racetrack bucket list, and very excited to see the Lady in Black with my own two eyes. So
yeah, it's crazy to think now. I've been going there for 13 years. I mean, my parents moved down there in 2013, and aside from 2020, there hasn't been a year I've missed at least going to one race there. So it's one of my favorite tracks. It's weird to think it's like my home track, even though Michigan's technically geographically closer. But
but in spirit, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I never would have thought, as a kid that I'd be going to Darlington every year. But here we are, and I'm very excited about it. So.
Same.
That's next week. But as always, you can follow us on Instagram at meetmeatapplebees and meetmeatbees on Twitter. Speedway screens and all the things. My big 40% off sale is still going, so you can save some money there at speedwaytsj.etsy.com. So, that's all my plugs.
It's still Snake Mountain True Love. Nothing going on. I'm excited. Next week, though, is our 100th episode.
That's true.
Are you gonna
something special?
Are you gonna text the? You gonna text him or call him?
I'll see what I can do. We're gonna try and get a really special guest. I don't know if we can do it, but I'm gonna do my.
Listen, he goes on a lot of other dog shit podcasts, so
this is no different.
He might as well go on this one.
But we'll try and get if we can't get who we want to get, we'll probably try and get somebody else in here or at least a couple other people to celebrate with us. Again, most podcasts don't make it this far, and I've said this plenty of times. I love talking to you guys, and I'm very much looking forward to hitting the century mark. Actually, technically, this is our 100th episode, but we had a little pilot episode that doesn't really count. So
we don't know how to count. So.
Yeah, we're going to save it. For some reason, I thought it'd be funny to have the first episode be 0.5. So, yeah. But, we're not celebrating this week, but we will celebrate next week, and it's going to be a good time, and I'm very much looking forward to it. RobMotes_unofficial on Instagram. My band's called These Wild Plains. Got a bunch of shows about to be announced for us and Charlie Marie coming up, plus some more Sweden dates for the summer. Ooh, that'll be fun. Hopefully we don't get fucking locked up at the border for things I've said in my text threads, but it is what it is. But looking forward to seeing you guys out on the road, and like Brian said, most likely at Darlington in a couple weekends. Oh, and by the way, like I said, I'll be at the Icebreaker at Thompson this weekend if the weather holds up on Sunday. So if anybody in New England's listening to this, come say what's up to me. I always sit and turn forward in a lawn chair and get stoned and pass out. So Look forward to doing that again.
Cool. And with that, looks like the check is here. So thank you for once again joining us at Applebee's, and we'll talk to y'all next week.